Hey folks, in the previous session, we have just created two new features which is all about first word and last word, which typically hold the binary value, which is all about zeros and ones. Wherever it is zero, it means the last word are not similar or the first word are not similar. When it is one, which typically means the first and the last word both are similar. Now let's try to create one more function with respect to our length difference. Let's try to create that. So first and foremost, if I will say diff of question 1, let's say 0. Let me execute this kind of code. This is what I will end up getting. Similar stuff if I will say, let's say question 2 of 0. Let me execute. And the moment I will call split, just to convert this string into a list data structure. The moment I will execute, oh cool, it is split, cool, and dot execute. Now this is what you are getting. And if I will say, what is the length of the list? What is the length of the list? So you can just think of calling len on top of this. It says, hey, you have total 12 words in this question 2 at 0th index. Similar stuff you can do for your question 1. Now it says, hey, you have 14 words at 0th index in my question 1. Now just to compute the length difference, first and foremost I have to use this absolute function. So what I will do is I will say cool, this is all about this one and this is all about this one. Let me just manipulate it as, let's say, question 1 of 0. Let me execute this kind of code. This says, hey, you have a length difference as 2. Now you have to do all the stuff, this is stuff especially for our entire data. So I just define a function. So I will say length underscore difference. So whatever row I will pass to this function, it will do all the stuff for us. Now let's try to customize it. So I will say it is all about row of question 2 gets, my bad. It is all about, yeah, I have to manipulate it as row. Cool. Let me return whatever value I will achieve. Now the moment I will execute and the moment I will say, just apply this function on top of your diff data frame, which is nothing but your length underscore difference, and I will say axis is all about 1. So whatever value it will return, let me store. Now you will see a surprising result, which is all about all the zeros that you will get, because unfortunately we have mentioned the 0th index. Let's try to remove that. So I will say cool, let me execute. Let me again execute this line of code. This time you will end up getting what you really need. Now let's try to store all these values or the length difference in some feature. So I will say it is all about nothing but length underscore difference. Cool. Now what I will do is, let's try to execute this line of code. And if I will say diff of head of, let's say 2, let me just execute this line of code. Now here you will see you have a feature which is all about length underscore difference. So now let's go ahead and try to solve this problem statement, or try to understand first and foremost. Let's try to understand what exactly are the stop words, and what if we have stop words in our data, how to remove it. First and foremost, let's try to understand these stop words. So in context of data, stop words are those words that doesn't make sense in our analysis along with the model building. If we are going to build a model, these are typically those words that doesn't make sense, just like he, she, it, our, we, because these are those words that doesn't make sense. So if I have, let's say very huge text data, of, let's say, all the technology data, let's say machine learning, AI, deep learning, data analysis, let's say time series, natural language processing, computer vision, reinforcement learning, and some more technologies. Let's say I have all the technologies, and let's say in all the technologies there are some words, or there are some stop words that gets embedded over here. So from the human perspective, we can understand these words doesn't make sense while we are going to perform some couple of analysis on top of the text data that we have. Hence, we have to remove those words. That's why stop word doesn't make sense in our analysis. So let's try to understand how to remove the stop words if we have in our data. So first and foremost, let's try to extract all the stop words or all the existing stop words that you have. So I will say from this natural language toolkit, which is all about NLTK, you can just go inside this corpus submodule. From this, you can think of importing something else, which is all about our stop words. The moment I will press tab over there, let me show you one more thing. If I will say stop, look at this, what I'm getting. This is what I'm talking about. Let me just execute this line of code. Oh, cool. We have to remove this and sounds good. Let me execute it. And if I'm going to say, let's use this stop words dot words. Let me pass some language. Let's say English language. It means I just need all the stop words of English language that are predefined by our Python developers. Let's try to extract all the words first and foremost. The moment I will execute, this is the list that holds all the stop words. Let me print it. Let me just print it. Let's execute it. Now these are all those stop words which are basically defined by our Python developers. Now you will see I, me, my, myself, we, our, ours, ourselves. These are all those words. That doesn't make sense. But again, imagine if you have, let's say, very huge data. Let's say with respect to, let's say, Quora data, where you have probably, let's say, 1 million rows. Let's say 1 million rows. Again, if we have such kind of huge data, it is not necessary that whatever stop words come over here inside this huge data, that will come inside the dictionary that is already provided by our Python developers. In such case, what I can do is I can say, cool, hey, can I extend this existing list that I have? Can I extend that? In such case, what we really need to do is we have to define our own list, which will hold all the stop words by just understanding our data. Then we will say, just add this list to this existing list so that whatever final list we will end up getting, this is the final list with respect to our stop words list, which holds all the necessary stop words, so that in future, if we have to eliminate all the stop words using this final, we can easily do that. So let's try to extract that, or let's try to enhance the functionality of this existing list that we have. Let's try to do that. You will see this is the list that we have. These are all the stop words that you can think of with respect to this Quora data. Now what I will do is, let's store this, let's say, in list 2. Let me execute this line of code. Now if I will say, let me show you one more thing. If I will say, what is the length of this list? So I have to just use this length function. Let me execute. Now you will say, by Python or by Python developers, you will end up getting probably 179 stop words. Now let's try to compute the length of this list 2. Let me execute this line of code. You will end up getting 168 new stop words. Now let's try to enhance the functionality of this existing list, which is all about nothing but our existing stop words. So first and foremost, let's try to store it in a list. Let's say stop words. Cool. Now I will say stop words dot extend. You have to just use this inbuilt extend function. I will say list 2. The moment I will execute this line of code, and if I will say, what is the length of this? What is the length of this? Let me execute. Oh, my bad. It says object of type none-time has no such function. Again, we are just encountering this error because there is already a submodule or as a function as stop words, and unfortunately we have defined the same variable names. So just to get rid of all this stuff, you have to first and foremost execute this line of code. Then you can think of executing this line of code, then again execute it. Now what I will do is I will say, hey, can I stop or can I store this in, let's say, stop. Let me execute, and I will say it is all about nothing but stop dot extend of list2. Let me just execute this line of code. Now if I will say what is the length of this stop, the moment I will execute this line of code, you will end up getting a total stop words as 347. And if I will say just print this stop, now these are all the stop words that you have, which is nothing but addition of the existing stop words plus all the customizing stop words what you have defined according to the data or according to the use case that you have. So let's try to understand what if you have stop words and how to remove it from data. So we will say it is all about nothing but diff of question 1 of index 0. Cool. This is typically the entire data that you have at particular index. Now in this data you might figure out that we have some stop words like is, like the, like by, like in. These are typically all the stop words you have. Now how to remove all the stop words that you have? So what I will do is, hey, can I convert this into a list data structure? Now once I have all the data in list, I will say just iterate on top of this list. It means you have each and every element. Then just put a condition if this particular element is found inside my stop list or not. If it is not available, then only return this element. Now let's try to implement all the pseudocode what I have explained. Again, if you are able to understand this pseudocode, writing an executable code is a piece of cake for you. So first and foremost, just try to call a split on top of this, considering space as a separator. Let me execute. This is the list that you are getting. Now we have to just iterate as for word in this. Now we have to put a condition if word is not a part of, or I will say if word is not in our stop. Let me cross check what is it is a stop. If word not in stop, then only you can think of appending that word. Cool. This is typically the code of list comprehension. Let me just execute this line of code. Now this is what you will end up getting. Now look at this. This is the entire string, and in this entire string, these are all the words in which we do not have any stop words. Again, this is typically the code of list comprehension. So this is basically nothing but our iteration on top of this list that you have. This is typical. This split will give a list. I will say just iterate using for word in this list. Now I have this if condition. If this condition gets satisfied, then you can think of storing this word in the list. That's what actually our list comprehension stands for. Again, for those of you who are unable to understand this code or this line of code, please feel free to ask with us in the Q&A of the course. We will try to share some of the toy solutions with you. So that's all about this session. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing.